Welcome to Decades of Horror, the 1970s.
You will not escape. In 1 year and 1 day, you will be dead.
This
Sounds
is
just
episode...
like it, right? Just like it, right?
Yeah. This is episode 229, recorded November 21st, 2024.
Gruesome Magazine.
My name is Jeff Mohr, and this podcast is about horror films released between 1970 and 1979. Each episode by co-hosts Doc Rotten, Bill Mulligan, and Chad Hunt, and I will tackle another classic or not so classic film from this wondrous, groovy, gory, and influential decade. Joining me tonight is Bill Mulligan, writer, director, special effects guru. How you doing, Bill?
I'm
published author.
Wrote a book.
Of ROM. Also with us is Chad Hunt, co-host of Decades of Horror, the All of Them, also comic book artist and writer. How you doing, Chad?
I've been equinoxed again.
I've been equinoxed. Okay. Doc Rotten is not able to join us tonight, but we do have Jeff Farley with us, who joined us on the 80s for The Blob in our super mega long episode, which this will not be one like that, I don't believe. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm good. I'm sitting here wearing my my Ranger Asmodeus super secret Dakota ring. So
Nice.
Cool.
I just want to say,
so
Jeff
cool.
is the biggest. I thought I was the biggest, Equinox fan that there could be. Jeff makes me look like nothing. He is the biggest Equinox fan. The people who worked on Equinox don't love this movie as much as he does.
Jeff is an effects artist that has, I don't know, somewhere in the neighborhood of like 250 credits or something if you add up your makeup and your special effects, I think.
feel old.
So yeah, he knows what he's doing. And for the fans out there, he worked on what did he work on? Actually, he was on the prop spider crew on Kingdom of the Spiders.
Oh, awesome.
He doesn't look that old. And then what else did I have? Oh, he was on the Blob, on the creature effects crew, Pet Cemetery, 1989, Space Truckin', which is one of my favorites, The Dark Tapes, The Taking of Deborah, Logan, and a little over a season of Babylon 5 as supervisor, right, of makeup effects.
Yeah. Currently in the theaters, I've got Abruptio out.
Oh, Abruptio, yeah.
So that's and the Primevals was out, came out.
Yes.
I did a year for movies that I worked on a decade or more ago to come out. So
if y'all are into stop motion animation, you really have to go check out the Primevals, and it's Primevals. It's currently on Amazon at pay-per-view. Sorry,
but it has a connection with what we're talking about tonight. So
okay, it does.
Yeah.
It does, absolutely. It was a David Allen project, and and also Randy Cook, who was the mastermind behind most of the effects on The Gate.
Yeah, he
was worked on it at the beginning. So
Dave came up with the concept for it right after in 1968, right after he finished the film we're about to speak about.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, let's get this up here. We have done Equinox before, and it was episode 124 4 years ago. But we've been talking about this. Bill suggested it that Jeff is such a fanatic with Equinox, and I loved watching it again. It's a really fun movie. So let's what do we do here? We get into details of the movie, and then we do some first impressions and posters, etc., and kind of take off down the road. Also, I need to bring up Play Now Media. We partner with Play Now Media. that has several streaming channels, and in particular, Decades Before the 1970s is on their Wicked Horror TV channel. So check that out. You can watch it for free, or you can subscribe, and pay a fee to get rid of ads. It's good stuff.
Ooh, nice.
All right. Our topic, and we already said it, but Equinox. And there's two versions of this. I'm going to be a little... The Equinox, A Journey into the Supernatural, which was completed in 1967, or just Equinox with some added footage that was released in 1970. And I'm going to give both of these. A writer, written and directed. The 67 version was Mark Thomas McGee and Dennis Muren. And the 1970 version, Jack Woods put his hand in. Changed, recut some of the stuff that was already there and then added some footage. Visual effects, David Allen, Dennis Muren, and Jim Danforth. Never heard those names before. The cast includes Skip Scheimer, as he was billed in the 67 version, but by 1970 he was Edward Connell. Barbara Hewitt, Frank Bonner, who had a different name in there, but I'm just not even going to bring that up. Robin Snyder, as she was billed in 67, became Robin Christopher on 1970. Fritz Leiber Jr., the great science fiction fantasy writer. Jim Duran, Lewis Clayton, and Jack Woods, who is only in the 1970 version as Asmodeus or Asmodeus or whatever. Production company, Tony Lynn Productions, Inc. It was filmed in location, lots of places in location, lots of familiar filming places like Bronson Canyon, etc. And I'm not going to list them all off, but you can check those out. Released 1970, budget was estimated at $6,500. And the synopsis: deep within the woods and canyons of California, 4 teenagers happen upon an ancient book containing the secrets of a strange, malevolent world that coexists with that of humankind. Shenanigans ensue. I always got to add that because stuff happens. And that is Lewis Clayton in that picture. And I think,
it's Dennis Muren's grandfather.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Yeah. Who was dubbed. They were all dubbed, I think.
Yeah. He's the one who got money for the film, so he was sort of by de facto the original film's executive producer.
He ponied up the $6,500.
It was Dennis's college fund.
College money, yeah.
Well spent.
It was.
Is making a movie.
Became an Oscar winner eventually.
Yep. So, yeah.
I've had a version with this picture, which I thought was kind of cool, which is The Abyss. And that is a matte painting with live action where the guys are walking across.
It is a Jim Danforth matte painting.
Yeah, Jim Danforth.
Yep.
On a glass.
So good. Anyway, all right. Well, let's get the first impressions. And you know what? Let's keep them short.
Okay.
Because we want to give time to learn Jeff's inside info here or knowledge.
Oh, sure. Keep it short, and then you go to me.
Yeah, Bill picked it. So first impressions now, whatever. So.
I mean, I love this film. My first impression was watching movies on TV, and the ads came out, and the ads were these amazingly bombastic: Equinox, a study in terror. Equinox, you'll wet your pants. Equinox. I'm only 10 years old, and they're showing, Taurus and all the stop motion stuff, and I'm like, damn, this is the greatest movie ever. But of course, nobody would take me to go see it. So it was a while before, I was very happy. One day I'm going through TV Guide, and there I see late night Equinox. It's on 11:30. Equinox. I'm going to set the alarm clock. And I watched it, and I loved it, and I still love it to this day. It's a $6,000 movie. It's cheap. The actors do the best they can. It's got great special effects. It has, it shows up on a lot of bad movie lists. And by some standards, it is. but it's got something most movies, good or bad, don't have. It's got charm. It's got creativity. It's got a bunch of folks who are reaching further than they have any right to. And I totally admire that. I love that this film launched a bunch of good careers. And it's definitely worth watching. And if you watch it, it's inspiring. You'll either be inspired to make movies because you think, I could do a better job than that, or the way I think most people should see it, it's like, this is what you can do if you put your mind to it and ignore the fact that you don't have two pennies to rub together. You can still shoot a kick-ass movie.
Excellent. All right, Chad, how about you? When did you first see this?
I can't remember if I saw it before the last time that we covered it or not, but upon watching it, then I was like, this is amazing that they made this movie for this little amount of money, and how influential it became to a lot of different things. I'm convinced to this day Sam Raimi saw it when he decided to do Evil Dead, and when he wrote Evil Dead, it just has that same vibe to it. There's a bunch of guys just getting together and making a movie and putting their heart and soul into it, and that's what shows on the screen. And some people will watch the movie and not see it that way, but if you have any insight as into how movies are made and this night, you can see that. You can see, man, these guys really loved what they were doing here. And so that's what I really, really appreciate about it, and how influential it was.
Excellent. First time I saw this, I think, was when we did it 4 years ago. So I'm not going to say much about it. I love it. I loved watching it again. I'm going to strongly suggest that if you enjoy stuff like this, that you get the Criterion disc, because it has both the short version and the long version, the 67 and the 70.
Love that poster, that cover of that. That's so awesome.
Keep holding that up there, Jeff. Yeah.
Actually,
yeah.
Cover.
So the
cover looks more like.
Yeah, it's got both of those. Each one has its own commentary. The commentary on the shorter version, the 67 version, is the guys that were making it. Commentary on the longer version are Jack Woods and Jack Harris, producer and director and actor. So you get two different takes on this. I really enjoyed the one on the shorter version, and one of the things that will strike you if you watch the movie is the acting is not good, but the people on that made it make a good point that this was stretched out over a long period of time. And then they went back and shot more footage 3 years later, so people don't look the same at all. They have their sidebrows go up and down. The one girl's hair changes every time she's every time there's a scene cut, it seems like. And so how do you keep continuity over that period of time? And plus, these guys go, we didn't know how to direct actors. We were there for the special effects. That's what we were doing. So, and they were all 19, 20-year-olds. The actors were all pretty young. And so, you lose your critical eye, and you can't, how many takes do you get on a budget of $6,000? So, all right, now I want to hear from Jeff. When did you first find out about this, and what's your story getting so involved with it?
I do my best impression. Was who made the potato salad? Joe's Delicatessen. But no,
Frank Miller.
I saw this film in 1971 when it was first released in Los Angeles, and saw it at the Sandbell Drive-In, along with the second build feature was actually the first feature that played was THX 1138, which my dad only sat through because Robert Duvall starred in it. but but even then, I'd seen the ad in the local newspaper before, maybe a couple of days, and it really intrigued me. This, image of Taurus, this blue ape creature demon, and it really intrigued me. But the morning we saw it, I saw my mom called me in. I was having breakfast, getting ready to go to school. My mom called me in to see the TV, and I saw this creature chasing this old man in a forest down. It was a completely stop motion scene, and I didn't even know what stop motion was at the time. I'd seen King Kong, but I didn't know what it was. But I was really floored by it. And then it cuts, and there's David Allen, and he's got it cuts, and it's like Taurus, and then it pulls back to Dave, and he's explaining the principles of stop motion and showing kind of manipulating the model, and he's showing how he moves it. And
while you have that in your hand, I saw something on the extras on the DVD that the right forearm had a double ball joint so that it acted like a regular arm. It could turn over.
That was a Dave came up with that concept, and it was a really jury-rigged armature. It was really homemade, but he figured it out and did it in a garage at home, and it worked out really well. But so long story short, I mean, we see the film, and it changed my life. I mean, there's something about it that was really dreamlike, and I didn't see it for years after. It's kind of remained as this memory. And then, like Bill, I started catching it on television, and soon after that, I'd met Forey Ackerman, and he was the one who introduced me to Jim Danforth. And it turned out Jim lived really close to me, and through Jim, I met Dave Allen, and through Dave, I met Dennis Muren, and I had found Mark McGee on my own. I found that he was living just a few blocks from where I moved away from in La Crescenta, where I grew up when I was really young, and so I called Mark, and we ended up meeting. He took me down into Hollywood, and he took me to the Bronson Cave to show me the area, and he took me up to the stairway from Invasion of the Body Snatchers. But we had gone to Collector's Bookstore, and we were digging through some stills, and I find some shots from Equinox, and I show them to him, and I'm saying, "Hey, look at this! I'm going to buy these." And he just looks at me. He has this look on his face, and he just goes, "Equinox? Why Equinox?" Or with all the good, why Equinox? And then he holds up this picture of Pam Grier on my face and says, "This is what you should be paying attention to." And but I mean, he really, really showed me a lot of stuff. He took me over to his place. His wife made dinner for us, and he showed me all the bloopers and outtakes, the Zargon H-bomb Beast from Hell, and all that stuff. He showed me his own personal 60 millimeter copies of it. But through knowing all of those guys, I was able to kind of forge this relationship with them and get to know all this information. And that's where I found out that a lot of it was shot around the area that I grew up in. And it turned out that I'd been hanging out in the areas. I was eating my lunch off the picnic tables that the Green Giant scenes were made on. So
that's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Kind of a, and I'll show this off now, considering I was talking about meeting Dave. But this was the gift he gave me the night that we met.
Look at that.
That is
Wow.
Oh, wow.
The book.
This is the only one left. There were 3 made for the film, and one was made. Well, actually, 2 were made for the original, a full scale, and including the miniature for some of the effects scenes, and then that was lost when they wrapped the film, they apparently left it on location and forgot. So Jack Harris had a new one made for his version, and he apparently the same thing happened when they wrapped. They lost it.
Oh no!
Both.
Well, it's small.
There was flooding in the Los Angeles area or the Southern California area after that. So a lot of that stuff was lost to time. But we get onto the budget too. Talk about the $6,500 film. Was the original was shot for $6,500, and
right.
But if you pull that into today's economy, that actually is the equivalent of about $82,000.
Okay, so it's not chump change, really.
Change, at the time, I mean, that bought Dennis, the film, the everything pretty much that he needed for it, including the post-production work at Dale White Studios, because the original film did have a mix done at a post-production house. It was local in Pasadena, and that's where they shot all of the hospital interiors also. And that was for both films. Both films shot their hospital interiors at the same place, at Dale White's place. But when Jack Harris took over, he told me in 1978 that he put in over $100,000 into his version of the film because
that included marketing and
such extensive.
Right. Yeah.
Entire track was scrapped from the original version because it was unusable for theatrical use, and Glenn's sound came in, and
they shot it in 16 millimeter, right?
It was shot on 16 millimeter. Both versions were shot on 16 millimeter.
Okay.
Lee Jr. told me that even the Harris version was shot on 16 millimeter, and it makes sense because they cut everything together. And Woods talks about how it was so difficult because when he cut together the original footage so that they would have a rough cut to know where to fill in the plugs or fill in all the gaps, he said that Dennis Muren dropped off like 4 different rolls of film. So usually it was an A and B roll that you would cut from, but in this case he had A, B, C, and D rolls.
Yeah.
So it really complicated the whole thing, but they had to get rid of the entire soundtrack because, of course, the acting itself wasn't top notch, but it's understandable. I mean, apparently Frank Bowers Jr. had some experience and did have theatrical training, and I don't know about Skip Scheimer because I think he was cast maybe because of his looks, but apparently he still did put in a lot of effort on the film. He didn't shirk responsibility.
Right.
Barbara Hewitt was in school with Dennis, and he thought that she'd make a good lead female. And Vicky was originally cast with a different actress, a girl named Susan Bernard, who both Dennis and Dave thought she would be perfect for the role. Mark McGee thought she sounded like Shirley Temple and didn't think she would be right for it. And he kept pushing them to take in Robin Snyder. And so apparently when Mark had convinced them, Dennis and Dave left it up to Mark to go over and give Susan the news that she wasn't going to be on the film. And apparently Susan's mother made a huge stink about it, saying that her daughter was going to be a star one day. And apparently after they let her go, they found out that her father was famed celebrity photographer Bruno Bernard, who was famous for shooting like this series of photos of Marilyn Monroe and other
wow.
Oh yeah, they had no idea that they had lost this thing, and before they were even finished shooting the original version, she was already cast in Faster Pussycat Kill Kill and
That's where I've heard her name before. Yeah. Wow.
So she already started getting roles, and so Mark felt that it was wise thing. He always said it's probably a wise thing to lose her because she probably wouldn't have stuck around anyways, whereas everybody else really did.
That's probably true.
Yeah, but Robin came in, and she has an interesting career beyond.
Yeah.
She was vocal coach for Fleetwood Mac.
Oh,
Wow.
okay.
Yeah, her and Stevie Nicks grew up together, and Stevie Nicks credits Robin Christopher for helping her find her voice.
I seem to remember somewhere that there's one of the Stevie Nicks popular songs was actually about her, but I can't remember which one.
Of them that are written about Robin.
Yeah, and I think the album that came out after she died was dedicated to her.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. But beyond that, whereas the original version was like really a guerrilla style shoot, the Harris version, I don't think they were like really fully staffed. I mean, I don't know if they had trailers or anything like that, but I think that that the reason why it costs so much, for prints and advertising and all the stock and everything that went with the post production, but also I think to pay off IATSE because the Harris version was a union shoot. It was an IATSE affiliated production.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's pause for a second, and I think our regulars will be somewhat irritated if we don't do this segment. It won't take very long.
No, they'll be fine. They'll be fine.
Oh no, these are great taglines.
They are. And so it's
in
now
capital
time
letters
for taglines with Chad. Oops, forgot the
There he is.
Who needs it?
Speaking of amateur productions.
Guy's ugly anyway. Taglines for the movie Equinox are: the evil devil cult that enslaves and destroys.
Yeah.
Well, a cult barrier between good and evil.
Oh.
See 4 teenagers fight a devil cult and then go out for chocolate malts.
Yeah.
See the ring that enslaves and destroys.
Oh, Jeff's got it right there in his hand. Don't look too long at it.
Yeah. See the symbol that defies the hosts of hell.
Yeah.
Nothing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Okay. See the unleashed power of the 1,000-year-old book.
Now, see, it's been a while since we've had one of these, Chad. The posters that have the C on them. I love those.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
That's a lot to see.
They really sold. They really,
And Jeff, this is not a tagline.
It is.
No, it's not. Come on, man. Supernatural Color by Deluxe.
It's on the poster.
You say that, but I have a vivid memory. Now, again, I was 10 years old, that in one of the ads, they had that, Equinox in supernatural color.
Yeah, what was that, Jeff? Let's see that.
It is. Well, this is actually really difficult to see. Let me see if it's on one of these other ones now. This one's really difficult to see because it's such a crappy print, but yeah, it does say
supernatural color.
Deluxe
I'll be damned.
on the because Deluxe Labs did all of the post and work on all of the printing, the film printing and color color correcting and stuff on the Harris version. They did the blow up, and then they did all of that film work at their lab, and they're a huge lab. I mean, they're still around. They're like now a digital lab.
They did a good job too, because it's not always easy to match footage, especially footage that was shot in different years. I mean, I've seen where it's not always easy to make our stuff match and just stuff we shot on the same day.
I have an answer for that one, actually. It's Jack Harris told both Jack Woods and Mike Hoover their footage couldn't look any better than what was originally shot. They had to shoot it to look like the original footage so that get some matching to it. And it doesn't always match up all the time, especially the one shot that where Jim wakes up after he's gone through the barrier and he wakes up before Asmodeus possesses him, or he finds Asmodeus on the other side of the barrier.
Yeah.
That was shot on a stage at Paramount Desilu Studios that was earmarked for Star Trek. And they rained out. Apparently they were rained out of the location before they could get that shot. So they had to get it somehow. And I believe that was another reason why the IATSE affiliation helped the production. But I'm sure that cost quite a bit too to get the stage.
Yeah.
However many hours they needed it for those few shots. But
well, Chad,
that one shot in the film looks so different from the rest of it.
Yeah. They talked about that on the commentary about trying to get the color to match, that they were warmer and colder in the different times. Chad, we got one more tagline to go.
Well, we're not done.
No.
All right.
Such luck.
It was a peaceful mountain retreat until it came home.
Ooh.
The Beast.
These all sound cool, but they don't really, the supernatural stuff is cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's been Taglines with Chad.
Chad's our hero, cool and rad. With him reading taglines, they can't be that bad.
Yay, Crystal.
Gets better every time.
Yeah, it's the best part of the whole thing.
All right, well, let's take a look at the posters, and there's a few of them here.
That's a great poster. That is a rockin' great poster.
I love it. Yeah.
Start by the Hughes that nobody knows who he is. Nobody's ever been able to figure out who this artist is.
Wow.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Well, he did a great job.
Way back then, but I didn't even think about it. Now nobody seems to know where any of that stuff is. The original artwork, nobody seems to know where it is.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that comes off kind of goofy because of the lighting is the colors of the creature. Yeah. Because they shot so much of it in daylight. And anyway.
Well, they didn't have lights, so they had to use Mother Nature's own sun.
Gold sun to light everything. Well, they did what every good low budget film does when you don't have money for production value. You shoot outdoors,
right?
That's all the location you need. So that and your parents' house.
So somewhere, and it might have been on this commentary, might have been on another commentary, Bill. We were wondering what these were called, and somebody called this a day bill. That tall.
Yeah, the tall ones.
The tall ones.
Yeah, I know one person who actually has one of those.
And, I should have picked those up.
The bottom was the U.S. half sheet. So I had my hand on one of those a couple of years ago, and I lost it literally within the last couple of minutes of the auction. It suddenly lost it. So
yeah.
So, and I looked at my finances and I said, probably better off. They posted it at one price and then it got pulled and then it came back up as an auction and it was like this ridiculously low price and even the shipping wouldn't have been bad, but it was just like, how it goes.
I even like their choice of fonts, the way they have the lowercase I in the middle there separating the word. Like, you know what?
Knox, it's communication between the two, the work.
This wasn't made by a bunch of dummies.
I don't remember who said it. If it was Jack Harris or who, but they were talking about retitling it, and they said no, they liked it because it had a Q, a U, and an X.
Yeah, it's
It
like
sounded it sounded esoteric.
Dave Allen came up with the title.
Okay.
And Mark liked it because it had that sort of that interesting quality, that really unique, mysterious quality to it.
Mm-hmm.
And Harris said, we can't have a title, the Equinox, a journey into the supernatural, on the marquee because it just takes up so much space. And usually one word titles do really well. So dropping it down just to Equinox is really a wise move, because it has various, quality to the title itself, and
It's mysterious. It doesn't really
it doesn't
state what the movie is.
It's a great
Keeps
word.
it
It's mysterious, but it's also easy to pronounce, which most mysterious words aren't.
Horror title. It really has a really good horror quality to it. So.
We got, let's see. Oh, this was the double feature.
Ugh, with Bigfoot. Good.
Is that in England?
Yeah, I got one out of the UK a few years ago, or at a really good price before everything shot up. So, back when I was doing Abruptio, I said, "What the heck? Who knows if I'm going to be here in a year? So I'm going to get the stuff that I lost." I had a huge Equinox collection that got lost, and I didn't even have that in the original collection, and that popped up, and I said, "That's it. I'm taking it."
I think we have some. Here's another one. That's kind of the same.
Yeah, that's
similar artwork on the
British video VHS releases.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if that's
yeah.
It's a color by Deluxe. See, and it's color the British.
OUR, yeah.
Allure.
Classy. But that is one of the 2 or 3 British VHS releases. There was another one that has an interesting cover that is taken from some Frank Frazetta work. So
okay, I think we have that one coming up.
Yeah. Oh, the Beast.
Doesn't that look kind of Frazetta-esque?
Yeah, it does.
Girl's
got more clothes on than a Frazetta painting, but
that's for the second release. Wizard Video. All of the releases worldwide were based on the Wizard Video release that Charlie Band put out, because he was the first one to acquire it to put it on home video. And this was his second release of it. The big box.
oh wow.
And but yeah, he put it out a second time. Matter of fact, here's I've got all this stuff right here in front of me. Here's the original Wizard video release, and then a few years later he put out the Beast, and he was managed to make more money off the film.
That's the way to do it.
Excellent.
I remember running into that at an old, mom and pop video store, and I'm like, "What the heck?" And I knew it was Equinox.
That painting was by great, now I can't even remember his. He did all of Charlie Band's paintings. The guy who did that one, his name's escaping me now, but he's a really famous fine artist now. He doesn't do any work, but he did all the Puppet Master stuff. And
okay. And this is for people that might be listening. This is the Criterion cover.
Yeah. This is some new artwork that was commissioned by Brock Deshane and who I can't remember the Curtis Choi. And they had some new artwork. I can't remember who did this new piece, but it was an interesting, explosive way to help promote the film.
Yeah,
I liked it. Yeah, it was really kind of a take on it.
And then just to show the fanaticism here, there's a picture of Jeff and May visiting locations.
Yeah, that's you in front of the cross. Somebody made a great joke. One of the reviews I read for the film cracked me up, because the guy in the middle of the review goes, "Who the hell is Mike Ross? Why is this guy keep screaming for Mike Ross?"
Mike Ross. Okay. Wow. That's funny.
that cross is over in San Marino Pioneer Cemetery, and it's still there to this day. And Maggie and I took a trek over there one day to pay our respects. You know,
that is quite the get up. I dig that.
Yeah, it's a neat.
And all the stuff she's got your statue in front of her.
Oh yeah, I put that in her hands. The photos of me don't look good, so she looks much better than I do.
Maggie's always had a good sense of style. I met Maggie when we were shooting a movie, and she played a zombie. And Maggie can look scary. She's a lovely young lady, but she can look scary, roll her eyes up, and it's like, oh my god,
Oh, yeah.
I didn't need to do any makeup on her at all.
The bottom picture is at Bronson Canyon.
That is Bronson Cave. Yeah, that's both of us at Bronson Cave when we were doing our that was the Bronson Cave was the second Equinox day. The top one was we did a little day that we went to Lower Arroyo Park, where a lot of the original film was shot over Pasadena, and we visited a few places, and we got some KFC to eat, and Kentucky Fried Chicken to honor the picnic in the film. And but then we went up to Bronson Cave only to find that they fenced it off, and I don't know if it's fenced off anymore, but at the time there's some erosion apparently, and they also might have been people sleeping in there because of the situation.
Oh sure, yeah. And you got matching shirts too.
Oh yeah, we were wearing our Sven shirts. We were
Sven Gulies
on Sven for that, but we ended up twice on Sven's show twice last year. So
oh wow,
nice,
cool.
Yeah, so,
all right. Well, you brought up the cast, so the four leads are on the top. So Barbara Hewitt on the left. Robin Christopher on the next one, and then Skip Scheimer or Edward Connell, whichever you want, and then Frank Bonner, who was billed as Frank Bowers Jr., who became, well, we'll see who he becomes here in a minute.
Watch both.
And here's the two women in the bottom picture there, Bill.
One of them turning evil.
Yeah. She's starting to make the Asmodeus face there.
She looked creepy. I'll be honest with you. It kind of scared me when I was a kid when they put the kind of the up under her eyes, and she kind of
yeah.
She does look creepy.
Barbara Hewitt is an ordained minister now.
Yes.
Oh wow!
He actually married my friend to his wife.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but she is an ordained minister, and she. As a matter of fact, I think I sent a photo to Bill of her. I saw randomly on the morning news one day, and she was sitting. They were interviewing somebody at a local restaurant in Pasadena before the Rose Parade, and I think it was a Rose Queen or something. They were interviewing, and suddenly they say, "Well, we've got another woman over here who was a queen at the same. It was a Rose Queen," and they cut to, and it's Barbara Hewitt sitting there. Like
she was a Rose Queen, I think.
67
or 8. Well, 8 would have been January. Yeah.
But it was after they shot the original version, before they shot the Harris version. Because they shot the Harris version in 69. But I talk a little bit really quickly, since you have those actors up there. I want to talk about their voice actors for the Harris version, because while Frank did do his own dubbing for the Harris version, are using their own voices. It was because if you watch the original versions, you can tell that Skip Scheimer has a little bit of a speech impediment, a little bit, and they replaced his voice with a guy named Larry Burrell, who was a local newscaster and actor, and he appeared in episodes of Columbo and stuff. And he was also the narrator of The Creeping Terror. So The Creeping Terror, you think you hear the voice of David Fielding, you're not mistaken, because that is Larry Burrell doing that voice.
Cool.
And the voices were done by voice actress by the name of Joan Gerber, who did a lot of work for Hanna-Barbera. But she was the one who came in and did the female voices. I don't know if she did all the female voices because there was a nurse also. She might have done that. That nurse, though, which was shot for the original version, she was Frank Boris Jr.'s first wife, Sharon Gray.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and there were a few other voice actor replacements also.
There's
Frank-
what he's famous for.
Frank Boers Jr. It was Michael Franklin Boers Jr. And he also early on in some of the press was credited as Michael Kenmouth.
Yes.
And there is one bit of
I saw
press
that.
list Skip Scheimer as Edward Price. That's before he changed it to Edward Connell.
Trying to come up with names that are going to work for your future. But yeah, WKRP in Cincinnati, Herb Tarlick.
He was great, and he was great as Herb.
Met Frank at Dennis Muren's for a screening of the original version. And he ended up inviting my family and I to a ton of the tapings at WKRP. So I used to
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow. Cool.
seen a lot of those and used to go backstage. And I still have my Lonnie Anderson signature from.
Ooh. I bet. How old were you then? Let's see. No, you were an adult then.
I was like 17 or something like
Perfect
that.
age.
So yeah, it was. Yeah.
And finally Jack Woods, and here's the
God.
mouth and the eyebrows.
Yeah. I
Apparently
gotta admire this guy.
Yeah, apparently those were added eyebrows. And
Yeah.
I hope so.
Well, you got to admire Barbara Hewitt for letting that guy
slobber all
zoom
over.
his face in on her,
Wow.
and drool on her, and
You
paw
know.
her, and
Yeah, I mean that entire sequence is I remember seeing it. And I think my mom got really uncomfortable with us
I'll bet.
watching it. You know, my brother and sister and I were all like, kids and watching this thing play out, and my parents weren't sure what to think, but they stuck it out and
Well, I was shocked the first time I saw this because it was always cut out of the TV versions that I watched. So I'm watching this with my wife. I got the Criterion thing, and we get to this scene. She's like, "What the hell?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what the hell? I don't remember this at all."
no kidding. Oh, they cut it in that because when they used to air it in LA, they ran the whole thing. I mean, I knew 6 months in advance when I called the TV station and asked when they were going to run Equinox, and they said, "Here's the dates," and they give me like two times a year. They would run it like during spring and fall, and they so yeah, I knew like 6 months in advance when the movie would play.
Well, here's the
I love this ending.
the ending. Yeah.
Oh,
This is such a 70s typical downer ending. And I remember watching this because this is late at night, everyone's asleep, and I'm watching this, and this is really well done. It's not gory, it's all implication. She's, this woman who we've seen is just this nice, most of the time, nice woman. She may not be the greatest actress who ever walked the earth, but I totally believed at that moment that this was old Mr. Asmodeus back from the dead and ready to party, and we know it's not going to go well. It's so understated and perfect, absolutely perfect. One of my favorite endings.
That little grin is
just
sells the whole thing. It's great.
Yep.
Yeah. And
Because she walks by the reporter and he kind of stops and turns, but no, her hair's different, so
she's got a weird little walk too. The way she holds her hand, it's like
Yeah.
she's not used to this skin or something.
Yeah.
It sells the alien quality.
Yeah. She's real stiff, and she kind of like walks towards, and then the reporter stops, but he look, he's like he doesn't even know who she is, so he's just
Mhm.
checking out the woman as he goes by, and he doesn't know what he's about to miss, you know.
Yeah.
And because obviously he doesn't believe, you know.
Well,
And I mean, Jim Phillips, I mean, I've never been able to find anything about him at all. Like Skip Scheimer, they both sort of fell off the face of the earth. I did find some information, though, about a Skip Scheimer in San Diego. This is around 2010. And it described a guy named Skip Scheimer as being somebody's roommate and that he had had a stroke.
Wow.
And this kind of goes in line with in 2006 when we had the Criterion had the screening at the Egyptian Theater. A bunch of us all went down there, and Mark McGee writes in his revised edition of You Won't Believe Your Eyes that Skip was too ill to attend.
Oh, that's
So
unfortunate.
possible that
Yeah.
why
Mhm.
he was in San Diego at the time. He's probably no longer with us.
Hmm.
And
well, and then I think we have pictures later of I don't know if we do or not, but anyway, we got to do the effects here. So,
Oh yeah, the monsters.
there's a
I love this part.
I do too, man. That was so great.
The only bad
What a
thing about it is that
cool
there's not enough of it. Look at this. Ah, we got some tentacles.
Oh wow.
actually I am recreating I've got everything I've got all the parts made and but that is what this guy.
That is Lovecraftian.
I had
Yes.
only person I know that actually I was able to get a hold of who actually saw it, did a drawing for me of like the back
Mhm.
that he could remember how it looked. And I mean, you only see it from one side in the film,
Mhm.
and things always fascinated me. So I decided to
Yeah.
make one. And of course, I over-engineered mine. Dave did a wire armature, and I've got a ball and socket armature. So now I got a lot of work ahead.
Are you ever gonna animate it?
I'd like to. I've got the means to do it. It's just that it's going to end up looking like the Lost Continent or something. But
Wow.
So they said I heard him say that cabin miniature was balsa wood, and then they pre-broke it and glued it back
Mhm.
together. Yeah.
the work of David Stipes, who built all the miniatures for the film, and some of the miniatures were actually built prior to the film. And but Dave went on to open David Stipes Productions, where he's an Emmy nominee and winner for shows like Star Trek: The Next Generation. And Dave had a really, really long and industrious career in doing visual effects after this. And he and Jim Duran also built that skeleton in the film.
I'm just
Oh.
looking at some of the detail in it. Look at even the highlight in the eye.
Mhm.
It's something that would normally they wouldn't think of, but
Yeah.
that just adds a little bit of life to the
Yeah.
monster.
Is just some tentacles. Dave had a friend whose father. Oh no, I'm sorry. No, it was a teacher of his, a science teacher, apparently had a squid tentacle and gave it to Dave, and Dave molded it and made some tentacles. And I don't know if he had finished it before. I know he had the tentacles made, and I don't know if he made that head for the film itself, but he modeled it sort of after the style of, because it was built around the time that Mysterious Island had
Right.
been released. Because both Taurus and, well, the skeleton in the original version, as well as the cephalopod and Taurus were the only things that were built prior to the film actually being made. They were already done. So that's one reason why they're incorporating the film. As a matter of fact, the film originally had a different premise. It was teenagers winning a contest, and the contest was going to an island, apparently, where there happened to be a mad scientist creating monsters. That was Dennis Muren's idea, what he wanted to do. And Mark said, no, I'll come up with something better. And Mark's idea was based loosely on Curse of the Demon.
Okay.
Hmm.
That makes sense.
So yeah, that drives French Library out. So here's the Taurus.
He's pretty much the star of the film.
Yeah.
And this is one of the, I gotta say, this is one of the longest stop motion sequences in stop motion movies. Usually the monster shows up, they do some stuff, and then he's dispatched. This guy's got a long scene. There's a lot of action with him.
It's almost 10 minutes of the film.
Oof.
I actually have timed every single effect sequence, and Taurus clocks in it at like just under 10 minutes.
Wow.
And there's the released version, though, has an additional shot of Taurus that was actually culled from the original film. The shot where Taurus is born, comes out of the vortex in the cave, the mouth of the cave, and the released version isn't in the original version. That's all cut together from shots from the original version, like the old man in the cave, but that shot of Taurus coming into, kind of dissolving in, maybe within 5 minutes of that same shot is shown without any of the work on it. And that additional work, though, was done by Ralph Rodin at the Howard A. Anderson Company, who did all of the additional optical effects, the vortex, anything extra optically was done at the Howard A. Anderson Company. And they did the new titles also. They redid the titles for the film.
Yeah. Yeah, because the other ones were like, we used to call it electroset, but you rub the letters on glass.
Yeah,
right?
They couldn't, but it did include Dennis's footage. It was Dennis's original, non-optically printed, titles were good enough for them to use for the Harris version, but they went in and put entirely new titles because they also had to credit new actors in it that weren't in the original, like Patrick Sullivan Burke, who plays the doctor. Well, I'm sorry, the doctor is in the original version, but
Jack Woods is.
Yeah, Jack Woods and but I want to talk about Patrick Burke for a second when we come back to that. So, but as far as the Taurus, Taurus was the first stop motion model that Dave built after the skeleton. And the skeleton was his first ball and socket kit, and then he built Taurus, and that was his first molded and fully sculpted, molded, and cast in foam latex piece.
I thought I had a better picture of that top thing because this is to me one of the most amazing shots in the film when we actually see the human character run in front of the stop motion, when usually it's the exact opposite. Was this the front projection technique?
This is front projection, yeah. They didn't have the room in Dennis's. All the effects were shot. Some of the scenes were shot in David Allen's parents' garage in Santa Ana, and all the rest of the stuff was done in Dennis's parents' pool house in La Cañada, Flint Ridge, and there wasn't enough room to do rear projection, so they opted for front projection. And at the time they did it, they were the only film. And even the original Equinox was considered a feature. It was never considered a short film because it was being made to be sold to a local television.
Yeah, it was 71, 72 minutes. Yeah.
Minutes. They had to fill enough time to sell it for a local television station.
Well, I think they said, you're starting to say that, I think, but I thought I heard him say on the commentary that they thought it was the first U.S. feature that used front projection. Yeah,
it was. And by the time it was released, even though it wasn't really fully U.S. based, 2001: A Space Odyssey had come out. And actually, front projection was apparently first used in film in Forbidden Planet.
Really? Wow.
Some of the shots, of the ship in space, and then it was used in Matango, the Attack of the Mushroom People, the scene with the film with Kumi Mizuno doing the song. All of those shots were front projection, and you see like the slugs in the film apparently would roll through, so it marred the entire image, and it's really kind of an odd. But apparently that was some of the earliest extensive use of front projection. But by the time Equinox was out, you know, like I said, 2001 had already usurped it. But that shot there on the top, it was a really interesting idea that Dennis had, that he thought that maybe he could get Barbara in front of Taurus by cutting little pieces of front projection material and placing them in front of the model as, you know, as they were shooting the sequence, and it worked. I mean, it's an amazing scene.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so well thought out, and Dennis had a really good eye for composition. You know, with Vicky down in the corner cowering, when Taurus off in the distance in the background. I mean, it's a really powerful shot. I mean, I thought that was really one of the best shots in the film, and it always stuck with me.
Well, we have there's a lot of cool shots in here that I, you know, when I, as an untrained, as an unprofessional, I guess, not in the movies, I didn't think anything about it. But now when I look at them, I think about how they did it and how impressive that is. So
was mixed scale, was like a front force perspective type thing.
Yeah.
The same these shots of the Green Giant. These were all shot over in Lower Arroyo Park in Pasadena,
but he's like standing on a picnic table.
I think I have a picture that actually has him standing on the table. This is one of my favorite uses of forced perspective ever. It's amazing. There he is. It's like, it's so simple and just so well done.
Yeah.
There's Suicide Bridge in the Colorado Street Bridge in the background, otherwise known as Suicide Bridge. They built these sets on a couple of picnic tables. Apparently Dennis and apparently Dave and Mark McGee were underneath the table shoring it up, while Jim Duron in the Green Giant makeup and wardrobe stood on them, and they set it up pretty convincingly. But this was all shot like where my dad's archery club meetings were held, and like I said, I had no idea that I was eating my lunches off of those picnic tables.
So
That's awesome.
To be bored by that place, I used to think I was bored so much by that place, and a little did I know that Equinox had been shot there.
So think about that in terms of first off, it was a 16 millimeter Bolex, that wind up camera, so you could only shoot 30 seconds at a shot, and you had to wind it again, right? At least that's what they said. And then on top of that, he's on that table. He can't move any farther than the table, so you've got to figure out what you're.
But they really did a good job of putting stuff on the table that matched the background. It's easy to imagine doing this, but to actually do it. And now that I look at it, I can now, studying frame by frame, I can usually see it. But not until I found out how they did it did I figure out, that I was able to see how the magician did the trick.
They had a slant board in the front that they also covered with dirt. And it was just dirt that they pulled right from the locale there, and they dressed it with there's Mark McGee holding a tree branch.
Give it some perspective in the foreground.
And I can't even remember now that if the picnic table with the hole drilled in it that Dave did attach the tree to. I don't even remember that. But Jim Danforth built Dennis Muren a nodal point for Dennis's tripod. So that
was impressive too. I mean, that rig looked kind of like the camera version of his armature for the Taurus. It was obviously homemade, but impressive as hell.
They tried to do it without the perspective would get off, and it would become apparent that the ground wasn't matching. But with that nodal point, it always keep his focus like directly where it needed to be, so that turn when camera turn when Dave goes into the scene, which is, I mean, a really well done shot. I mean, with Jim in the background holding the book and the giant, stand there and Dave comes in. That's a convincing shot. I mean,
Well, there's a shot too where he backhands him.
Yeah,
backhand, and his hand hits him and he goes flying. And I don't know. I remember you bringing that up in our other show, Bill.
Yeah, I was so convinced that was like animated or something, and now Jeff said no, it was just good force perspective, and I was like watching it frame by frame. It's like, you're absolutely right. And again, these guys are shooting on film. They can't afford to have this done a million times to get it right.
They shot most of their stuff with one take too. They didn't shoot
That's
take.
hella impressive.
Had to have the angles and the timing down perfectly.
Yeah, it was, and a lot of it was just because Dennis had kind of the idea, and that the whole sequence came about because Dennis wanted to do a sequence based on Darby O'Gill and the Little People.
Yeah,
that's what influenced the Green Giant sequence, and its use of mixed scale, which is a force perspective trick, but in professional terms, it's called mixed scale. But now here's kind of an ironic twist, though. Patrick Burke, who played the film's doctor, his first feature was playing a leprechaun in Darby O'Gill and the Little People. So that's and I sent a photo to Bill also of him in an episode of Land of the Giants.
I didn't get to use all the photos because Jeff's probably like, oh my God, how many are you going to send me already?
No. We talked about that last night. He said, I just sent you everything. You guys worry about weeding them out.
Believe me, I got way more.
Oh, this is pretty cool too.
Yeah.
The demon.
I thought the shot.
Yeah.
The shot where you see the legs come in and grab, I forget what Susan or Barbara Hewitt, I thought was phenomenal. That was just amazing. The legs come in and grab her and take off with her.
Bill, a shot of that, also the rig for it, which was actually mounted to Dennis's Cadillac or his convertible. They literally mounted to a car, and they animated the car as they animated the creature coming. So every time they would move the creature, they'd move the car a little bit, and it was like a really interesting rig. But there's a photo with a big aluminum bar coming out of the back of the demon, and it's rigged like a rig attached to the car with C clamps and stuff like that. So yeah, that was a really interesting bag. But apparently,
the design is amazing.
Yeah.
The picture.
Did they shoot this upside down?
Projection shot or front projection shot. It was actually shot live outdoors. A few shots of Taurus were also shot outdoors, not under studio lighting.
Wow,
David,
that's crazy.
They took it outdoors and shot a few shots against natural sunlight. That bottom shot, though, from the original film, not in the Harris version, that is all clay. That's clay, and I believe latex.
Wow.
Because did it for that one shot, and Dave sculpted, but Dave told me that was actually just nothing but clay. Never even the only claymation in the original film. So,
well, he ended up working for the companies that made like Gumby, right?
Yeah. Well, apparently Dave did work, but he went into animate for them, and they rejected his work. Dave had a really good style. I mean, Dave was very focused on naturalism, and he also, but at the time, it was really frenetic because Dave did the shots of the cephalopod and Taurus, and Dennis did the Asmodeus shots. Dave built the model, but the Taurus shots, I mean, it's really dynamic animation for someone who was only 21.
Yeah.
Really, really excellent work.
And
there's my model.
Is that
kit.
the original model?
It's the original model and the book that I own, and that is the model kit. That's my original garage kit that I did. back in the 90s.
And that's Dave Allen in the middle.
And there's the book. That's
Yep.
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, when foam rubber after a couple of decades.
It doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
But-
waiting to dissolve away. Mine's foam latex also, but I have a traditionalist. I didn't want to do silicone. I kind of like that idea of non-permanence. And when I first saw
I get that.
in 78, he was in a bag already. He was already rotting away at that point, and Dave couldn't take him out because he did him out of, I believe, the Uniroyal rubber. And that stuff had a tendency to rot after a few years.
Well, I that's interesting as hell, and I have a feeling you could talk a lot longer about this.
Yeah.
This could be like a multi-part episode. This is like
Yeah, we didn't even talk about Fritz Leiber, but I think I did in the old episode. So I think this is the first double tap we've done on the same crew.
Okay.
Yeah.
When we've done repeat episodes, it's been an entirely different crew than did the movie the first time around.
Well, it was worth doing just to get.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. That's what I love about this is the stuff you learn about how these things were made and the special effects and stuff like that.
And a quick question for you, Jeff. In the Primevals, I swear I guess it's not the opening scene, but the scene where they're standing in line to go in to see the creature unveiled.
Oh yeah.
Is that Ray Harryhausen standing in line?
It is not. No, unfortunately. I mean, Ray had.
It looked a lot like him.
I would have. Well, Dave told me one day. He comes to me and he goes, "Yeah, Robert Cornthwaite's showing up tomorrow." It was just before we shot those scenes, and I'm like, "Robert Cornthwaite from The Thing, The Thing, The World, Dr.
Yes,
Dr. Carrington. Oh my God.
Dave at that, and Dave was, "Oh yeah, he's coming in tomorrow," and I ended up spending a lot of time with Robert, and which was great to have him in the film and playing the sort of characters that he played back.
I'm not sure that was Harryhausen's. There's a guy that was he was a tall, thin, balding guy standing in line outside the building.
I thought that they could have dubbed some of the voices because they're very thick, what are you going to tell me about the Yeti?
Yeah.
Real thick Romanian accents.
Yeah, the whole crew is most of the
You miss Chris Endicott and I, though. Chris and Endicott and I both are in that sequence.
Oh, really?
Kind of walk through the crowd, and then you see us both kind of make a turn and then walk away from the camera.
Is that inside or outside?
That's inside, inside the hallway, the hall.
Okay.
Those legs were great. Mark Rappaport's company built those, and they went up to just about mid belly, and it was impressive. I mean, I was like, really. I mean, I was thrilled to be able to sort of supervise setting that stuff up, and the skeleton, the Yeti, and
there's so much innovative stuff in there. I mean, the whole setting inside the alien created world. I shouldn't give that away, I guess, but that stuff was insane. Actually, I mean,
working with Juliet Mills was like a dream come true. I mean, used to watching her in Nanny and the Professor when I was a kid. I was lying in a cave wearing one of the hominid suits, and I'm lying in bat guano in this cave, and I'm just sitting in a panic attack. I started getting claustrophobic.
Yeah.
And shaking, and all of a sudden I look up and I see Juliet look down at me smiling, and then I went, everything's okay, and felt better after. She was wonderful.
I saw a quote from her that when they finally put it out, that she was so happy that it finally was out. She just assumed it was never gonna happen.
We all assumed that. I mean, I was really convinced Charlie was just never going to get it together, and then lo and behold, they did it. And I mean, like I said,
so
I met Dave in '78 when he was working on it, and In '94, I was there, Romania, on the show.
And well, okay, I got to quit talking about that. We're at 9:00, so, and I think we're just going to have to shut down without doing reader feedback because we have to get on to another one here, reader, viewer feedback, listener feedback, one of those things.
The peanut gallery.
But we'll do it next time. We will. Jeff, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff.
This was
cool stories, man. Cool stories.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. It's great seeing you.
You've been networking your ass off for the last 30 years, 40 years, I think.
Yeah, and I'm like, and I have all the wealth to show for it. It's like, yeah, I know. Yeah, where's the bags of money?
Well, not all wealth is that way. So,
but you've created a lot of stuff, and I think like the folks who made this movie, I'm sure the stuff you've made has inspired other people to pursue their dreams as well.
A lot of people online that I've been talking to that are making stuff, and I've some Puppet Master fan.
Hey, his David Allen's story is just incredible. The stuff he just got into it from King Kong, I guess, and just started making stuff on his own and he was learning how they did it and trial and error and making his own little films. And
also like a classically trained musician, and he could play the piano and other. I mean, I don't know how multi-talented as a musician he was, but I know that he could play the piano like excellently, and so he had that real artistic streak in him, and but he's very. I mean, really, you could tell the gears were turning when he talked. He didn't just say random stuff. He talked, and I have, I mean, I got to see him in a sillier side too a little bit, but yeah, I mean, what an experience that was to be stuck for 9 weeks in Romania all together, where we were.
I'll bet.
Looking crazy on this film seemed to end. That with Paramount Home Video pulling out and literally leaving us penniless. I mean, we were getting our per diem, but I mean, I came back and I think they owed me still like $5,000, and I didn't even get all of it.
Well, I think somewhere I read that when they pulled it, he told Alan to shut down immediately, but he had they just went full tilt boogie and did a couple days more shooting to finish up the live.
To be honest with that, I mean, the timeline seems a little odd because I remember it was July, because I got there in July, like July 9th or 10th. And I remember, Chris Bergschneider had already gotten over there to do the Josh Kirby Time Warrior thing. That was a couple of weeks later. So sometime in August, but we shot through September, and I've got all the call sheets. So I could find the exact dates, but I remember sometime in late July or early August reading about, an article was somebody who came over from LA to Romania brought a Hollywood Reporter issue with them, and it had an article on Paramount Home Video pulling out, and it was pretty brutal. And Charlie, they desperately tried to keep the article out of our hands. They did not want it at all. But I think we went a few weeks because they owed me.
Okay.
They ended up still owing me about $4,000. So it was about 4 weeks, at least 4 weeks worth of work, because I think, they owed me $5,500. And then I came back and they gave me a check for $1,500, and it was a big day. They were paying everybody. But we all had to sign, of course, release form that we weren't going to sue them or anything like that. And then they never paid the rest of the money. So, yeah. So
hopefully we can do a whole episode on Primeval.
Yeah. So everybody, Primeval's right now is pay-per-view on Amazon, but I'm sure it'll hit some other places.
I'm just so grateful that it's done and out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Chad, Bill, thank you too.
Thank you. This was great.
Yeah, this
Had
is
a great time.
Thanks to Grue Believers.
Thanks,
and,
Jeff.
Thank you,
Say
guys.
good night, guys.
All right, take care.
Night,
Night.
everybody.
Bye.
Gruesome Magazine.